stopped. So check that story out. I always listen to little podcasts here and there when I get a chance to by myself. But it's called Score Everything with Bruce Pritchard, because he's basically he was a manager, then came to be one of WWE's executive producers and writers over there. And also we talk about the Montreal Screwjob, which is the infamous Montreal Screwjob. People don't even know Montreal Screwjob is basically Vince McMahon's dad had passed, and basically Vince McMahon came to the evil villain that we all know from today, the character of Vince McMahon. So check that out. It's very good. It's very good to tell stories about the WrestleMania side and everything else side. Wrestle in WWF. It used to be WWF and it used to be WWE. So that's all. That's a very good educational factor to hear. And yeah, that's all.
So, for those of you that have Bounce TV, first of all, the phone lines are open, 917-889-8825. That's 917-889-8825. The Bounce Network has a documentary about a young man who was killed and found with his innards removed and dug out. Ryan Singletary. It's called Dying to Be Famous. And it sounds like a case that happened here in Baltimore, but I'm not for certain because I even missed the first 2 episodes, so I'm waiting until it gets to the end so I can see the whole it's all over again. I hate when you miss something and you went in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
And Green mentioned Scottie Pippen. Now, a fact of crossing paths, my grandmother, my late grandmother, I should say, used to babysit Scottie Pippen when he was going to elementary school. And I said to my grandmother, I said, "Ooh, you sure that's him?" She said, "Yeah." So she said something about the nose and the birthmarks. So she knows, wouldn't nobody know where a birthmark like that would be because it's not seen with your clothes on. So I took her word for it. I took her word for it when she said Scottie Pippen. Because out of all the basketball players that were playing on the screen, she didn't recognize somebody but that one. So, small world.
Indeed.
And somebody was asking me, I think it was yesterday, but the show was on rerun. I think the rerun about. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back on that. Keep it live. We'll be right back.
The word real has lost its meaning these days. There's too much fake out there. Real food means fresh food. Fake food means processed food. It's as simple as that. Well, here at Chipotle Mexican Grill, we source the best ingredients that we can find and prepare them by hand. That's real. That's fresh. We're all about preparing food without added colors, flavors, or preservatives. Just genuine raw ingredients and their individual flavors. We source from farms rather than factories and spend a lot more time on our ingredients than many other restaurants. We wouldn't have it any other way. Fake and processed food is never a problem at Chipotle. We have a skilled crew who take the time to use our fresh ingredients to prepare only the best meals to come out of our restaurants, because that's how we roll. Chipotle Mexican Grill. We do it fresh.
All right. Thanks, Faye. You're listening to Baltimore is Talking Live. I'm your host, Dr. Q. Co-host is Green Bean Aaron Green. Hello, Green.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Yeah, before the break, I was talking about a question that somebody was talking about on yesterday's show. Yesterday was running a rerun about subliminal messages and codes. So, and that's what the question was in reference to. How can, the question was, give me a real-time situation of how can you decipher something in code. And that was pretty much easy. Take, for instance, The Simpsons. Every time The Simpsons come out with a cartoon, they say they're predicting the future. They're not predicting the future. They're reading the waves of people's reactions and thoughts, like social media, and they make the writers write these things. These things have not happened yet. But everybody knows Donald Trump and Hillary running for president, and the depiction of Trump being president, and the whole town of Springfield went insane. Well, that's what has happened. The whole 4 years of Trump's presidency, the whole world is going insane. That's not a prediction from The Simpsons. That's the COVID virus. The COVID virus, since that's what they keep calling it, is radiation poison. Constant exposure. Have you ever noticed when you look outside, you don't hear the dogs barking? They bark indoors. You got an indoor pet. But they don't bark outside. Like they used to. You used to walk up and down the alley, and the dogs are whoa, 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 whoa.
Depends on which dog.
Now, they might say, whoa, whoa.
Yeah,
not as aggressive as they once were, because they have a keen sense of smell, and they cannot identify the senses of the person. The dogs bark because they sense the pheromones on your skin that come out of your pores. When you're covered in the COVID, they cannot smell your pheromones. They just smell the radiation. So they're barking in that disarray because they don't know what they see. Dogs don't see like you and I see. Everybody says, oh, they're colorblind. They're not colorblind. They see in black and white, yes, but it's more than that. This is another reason why I tell you, everything we have on this planet is a souvenir of the other planets that we've gone. When you look at a cat, where in the hell would a cat come from? Cats are not of this planet. They're from another planet, wherever planet we've come from. You can't even trace the lineage of where a cat would come from. All science will tell you is, oh, the cats are related to the tigers or the lions. Okay, if the cats are related to the tigers and the lions, then how do we have the cat and the lion at the same time? That's time travel. Tiger is the dinosaur version of the cat. Then the tiger, I'm going to give you another example, the elephant or the rhinoceros. If the rhinoceros is the dinosaur version of a turtle or a horned frog or whatever you call them, that's time travel. How do these things exist past the frozen centuries and eons? How do the crocodiles still exist when the waters were frozen over? All of that stuff is important. When you read Noah's Ark, an atheist friend of mine tells me he doesn't believe in fairy tales because it's not true. Where would all those animals fit, and how would they breathe, and how would they eat, where would they poop? You know, you read too much into it. So I don't. That's one of the reasons I don't teach the Bible. See, there are three ways of teaching the Bible. You have the expository way, which is my way. You have the philosophical way, which is the way to teach it in seminary, which I've been trained to teach it that way. But I prefer the expository way. I break down everything verse by verse. And I'm very careful with who I do that with, because if you actually knew the Bible was written and what the Bible said, you would probably commit suicide or go insane. The Bible is telling you of the supernatural things in the atmosphere, the scientific things that we cannot explain, and things that you can't imagine. So when King James came along, he interpreted everything in a literal sense of the word. And that's why everybody say Jesus is white and God is white, because it helps you sleep better at night knowing that a white man died and gave his life for your sins, et cetera, et cetera. But the Bible is being mistaught. Then I'm going to get into this numerology thing just a second. I'll give you an example of something that'll blow your head off. And you'll say, oh, my God. Now, if you haven't learned this at your church, you need to go to another church. I'm not in church anymore. I'm happy to share with you, but I don't think I have the energy and patience at my age to go from scratch trying to teach and show anybody something. I'll teach a young person something so they can pass it on like a griot, but I can't deal with congregations of phony people anymore. And what I call the holy shit, I just can't. So that's what turned me off from the get-go. You know, you want to learn or you're not going to learn. I'm not here to pacify your feelings. The Bible says when Jesus was crucified, there was no room for him on the cross. So they brought down a serial killer. And Jesus said, today you'll be with me in paradise. All right. Hold on to that thought. I'm going to tell you what paradise is. Thorns on them and laughed at them. Oh, you say you the Son of God? You should be able to get down off the cross then. You can't do nothing. You ain't nobody. You ain't got no power. You just a nigga. So, he summoned all his energy and started talking in a language that nobody knew what he was saying. They translate that he was saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? that's what they translate